What's going on, guys? I'm Bill and welcome to Bill's How-To. Today we're going to be looking at the differences between a drill driver, which is this one over here, and an impact driver. The main differences between the two, the applications that each one is used for, and at the end of the day, which one you guys need for your project. Let's get straight into it. Let's do this. All right, guys, so I'm going to keep this as simple and straightforward as possible. Hopefully by the end of this video, you'll be able to determine which one is the drill driver, which one is the impact driver, the different types of bits that go on each one of these drills, and the different applications that they're used for. So if we have a look at the two side by side, this one here is our drill driver. This one here is our impact driver. The drill driver is a lot longer than the impact driver. That's mainly due to this little section right here, which is the chuck, and then also our clutch, which we'll get into in a second. The main purpose of these two drills, this one here is generally used for drilling holes and also fastening or attaching screws. This one here originally was mainly designed to just basically fasten screws and different types of fasteners. So a lot of things have changed over time. There's been a lot of advancements in the drill bits that we can use. So now these ones here can actually drill holes as well, but they're limited to what they can do. So they both play their own different role when it comes to whatever job that you're tackling or your project that you're tackling. But I want to show you guys quickly the features that both these drills have. So if we have a look at our drill driver, this one here basically just has a rotation on the front of the drill here. So it rotates clockwise, anti-clockwise, or forward and reverse. Okay, this is basically the main feature of a drill, is basically to go in forward or reverse, where this one here has an added feature, which is where it gets its impact name from. It basically involves rotational impact. So if you imagine anytime you're trying to undo a bolt using a wrench or an adjustable wrench or whatever it is, you're trying to undo it, you're getting to that last point of it, you can't turn it anymore, and then you decide to give it a couple taps with a hammer or with your hand. Same thing when you're loosening, trying to break that seal to loosen it off. This one here gives multiple impacts per second. I think from memory it's about 3,400 impacts per minute, which is unreal. So imagine tapping on something while it's rotating as well. So you're rotating it, it's fastening it, and you also got the tapping action. You can only imagine just how much quicker this one here would be to install, especially with your larger screws, larger bolts. This one here makes a really difficult task a walk in the park. So I'll get into a few demonstrations later on, but the main features here, if we have a look at the front, this one here on the impact driver has a little collar or a collet. Okay, this one here is designed to attach our bits to. So if you have a look at the back end of our drill bit here, you'll notice it's in a hexagonal shape. That one there tells me that this is an impact bit. So we've got a Phillips head on the tip here, and it's got the hexagonal shank on the back. So in order to install this one here, simply click it in, and it's now locked in place. It's secure, it's not going anywhere. In order to remove it, you pull the collet back and you pull out your drill bit. On the drill driver, it's a little bit different. You can see here, this little section from the front is our chuck. And now if we turn this one here over, you can see there it's opening up the jaws, and that'll open all the way up to about 13 mil, which I think from memory is about 1/2 inch. So that one there allows you to take on a whole range of different drill bits. But one thing you have to note is the shape of the drill bit on the back. So you can see there, this one here is specifically designed to go into your drill bit, into your drill driver. So there's no specific shape on the back apart from being a cylinder. No other little grooves or anything else on the back. This one here is designed to only go into your drill driver. So the way you put this one here in, just in case you guys don't know, just slot it in, turn it over. Once it gets a little bit snug, you can then tighten it by hand, and you hear that little ratchet action. That'll secure everything on, and you're ready to go. This one here only fits onto your drill driver. So remembering that one there, that's designed for the drill driver, only can be secured to our drill driver. It doesn't go onto the impact driver. There's no way of attaching this one onto the impact driver unless you get a little adapter. And with our impact bit here, this one can go onto both your impact driver and also your drill driver. So once again, open up the jaws here, clamp it on, and once again, nice and easy. Now a couple other features that you want to look at are these little numbers up on top. So you can see here up on the clutch, This section here is called the clutch, and it also rotates, which is separate from our chuck. So this section here is our chuck, this section here is our clutch, and now you'll notice all those little numbers on top. What that does is it allows you to restrict the amount of torque that comes out of your drill. So anytime you're worried about stripping screws, you're going for a tough material, you don't want to oversink your screw into the specific material, you can control the amount of torque that comes out. I'm sure anybody that's used one of these drills, trying to drill through a little bit of hard material or trying to drill a hole through a hard material, has got to that point where it's really tight and it twists your wrist. That's one of the benefits of the impact driver. Gets rid of all that fatigue from your wrist. It takes away all that pressure away from your wrist, and it drives all that force or all that torque straight into the actual fastener or the screw itself. So this one here is definitely a lot easier to use, more economical, more efficient. It's a lot more convenient to get into those tight areas. You get your job done faster, and because all that impact action is going in through the shaft and then through to the screw, it prevents slippage as well. So it's really, really handy to use the impact driver, especially on tougher material and larger screws, which I'll show you guys a bit of a demonstration later on. But now that we got that out of the way, so you know basically the drill driver is designed to drill holes. It can also secure your fasteners or your screws. The impact driver, pretty much the sole reason most people want to use this is to take on board all those tough projects or the tough screws, tough materials. It turns it into a walk in the park. One of the other features that you need to look at when you're buying a drill driver is, do you want the hammer function mode? Now the hammer function is an added feature on some drills, and most brands now are starting to come out with them as standard. So if we have a look here, you'll notice there's a little hammer right there, hammer symbol. That one there allows you to turn this one here into not only a rotational drill, but it also gives you a hammer function. So hammer meaning this one here was the hammer or the impacts were going in a rotational force. So as it rotates, it's also giving that tapping action all the way around. This one here has a hammer function from the back. So while this one here is rotating, this one from the back is giving it that hammer function. Now that one there is designed for masonry bits going through masonry. So any brick, concrete, cement, anything like that, that's where you want to use this application. So rather than having a separate hammer drill and a separate drill driver, you can get it all in one, probably for maybe an extra $50, $40, depending on the brand. Definitely worth investing in it. It's one less tool that you'll need to buy, especially if it's just work around the house, your basic stuff. Anything heavy duty, you will need to go to an SDS rotary hammer drill, and that's for another video. So like I said, generally speaking, that is the main applications. These ones here are for fastening, drilling holes, and if you've got the hammer function, it's for drilling holes in masonry, brick, and concrete. This one here was originally designed for the impacts, giving that really consistent, smooth operation through all your different types of fasteners. However, like I said, things have changed over time. The technology has advanced in a lot of our attachments. So some of the attachments that you would have traditionally used on your drill driver, like a spade bit or a paddle bit, or also known as a speed bore, these ones here also come impact rated now. So if you have a look at the back here, it's got that little shank on the back, or the hexagonal shank, that fits into our impact driver. So now we can drill holes using the impact driver. And to be 100% honest, I was a little bit skeptical about trying out different paddle bits and different drill bits, because you can now get your standard drill bits like this one here that go into your metal, plastic, and timber. So your standard drill bit now can also come impact rated. So you've got there, this set here is from Milwaukee, but a lot of other brands make it as well, impact rated drill bits. Like I said, I was a bit hesitant to buy these originally, and after testing them out, I'm honestly super happy with them. I haven't gone back to putting a standard drill bit back into my drill driver. I've been using my impact driver. It does such a good job of getting that out of the way that I've never had to really go back to using my drill driver. But in saying that, generally speaking, I use my impact driver probably about 85% of the time compared to 15% of the time on my drill driver. The main uses I've got now for my drill driver is using the hammer function whenever I want to go through tiles or any sand and cement, bricks, anything like that, that's not really heavy duty, I'll use the drill driver. And the other main feature that I use for it is a hole saw. So I'm yet to find a brand that makes a hole saw bit designed for an impact driver, especially because a lot of times when I'm using the hole saw, I'm generally going through timber or doors, and I really need a nice clean cut. I'm not sure how the impact function would work on the finish, but I'm definitely interested to try it out. If anybody knows of a brand that's got one impact rated hole saw bits, definitely interested to see that and test it out. But let's test it out, guys. I'll put some quick little tests together and I'll show you guys the main difference when using the drill driver and using the impact driver. So let's have a look at some of the differences. We'll start off with our drill driver. We're going to use our Phillips head bit, remembering we can use the impact rated ones in our drill driver as well. Make sure that's on nice and tight. We're going to start off on standard drill mode. We're not going to play around with the torque settings, and we're going to drive in a 30mm screw. So this one here is fairly small, standard size screw. We'll go up a little bit bigger in a second, but just to show you guys what you can expect, this one here, the chance of slippage is a lot more than with the impact driver, and also overdriving it. So you can hear that little bit of a slipping that was happening there, and I did have a bit of pressure coming down. So that one there is fairly flush. Now we'll play with the torque settings. I'll adjust this one here onto number 4. We'll try it again. Same thing, side by side. And you can hear how that's just cut out. Now I've still got my finger on the trigger, and that one there has sunk it down a fair bit. So if we have a look there, if I wanted to control that to stop a little bit higher up so that it's almost flush, switch this one here down onto number 2. And it takes a bit of practice just to figure out exactly, depending on the type of material and the length of the screw that you're driving. So once again, and you can see there, that one is sunk down a little bit less than the other one next to it. So we'll put this one on number 1, try it one more time, see what kind of difference we can expect. And you can see there, it's just below the surface. So we've got 3 different depths simply by controlling the amount of torque. But you did hear the slippage. We'll switch this one here over to our impact driver now. Do the exact same thing. And you can hear that impact kick in as soon as it starts sensing resistance. Now, this one here has sunk in a fair bit, but one of the upsides about using the impact driver is you can control it by simply playing with the trigger. So I'll show you guys what I mean. Those little taps, those little blows that come through give you so much control. That is 100% flush right there, and that is exactly what you're after. Very minimal slippage, very minimal impact on your wrist. There's no fatigue whatsoever. All that transfer of torque or power or energy goes straight into the screw, and that's what helps drive the screw in. One more time. Nice and easy. That is why everybody loves the impact driver. We'll switch over to something a little bit bigger now. So this time around we've got a larger screw, about 100mm, 8 to 10 gauge screw, and we're going to try it again with our drill driver. Back on full drill mode. Now whenever it comes to longer screws, you should technically pre-drill the hole, especially when you're using your drill driver. It doesn't have as much control as an impact driver does. There's a good chance it's going to slip. Just need to try and get this one here to line up. You can see there, like I said, it's very hard to control it without pre-drilling. And we've got that one all the way through, but all that torque gets transferred into the wrist. So I'll show you guys the difference when we switch this one here over on an impact driver. The amount of control is unreal. Now this is just for demonstration, guys. I wouldn't be using my drill driver to sink a large screw like that, especially without pre-drilling it. So once again, the impact driver this time, you can see just how much more control there was, and even our drill bit got stuck in the top of the screw. That's just how much force and impact, everything goes straight into that. If you're not careful, you can also strip your the heads on your drill bits, on your screws. there's honestly a lot of power that comes out of these. So let's try it out one more time. We'll switch over to a different screw, something a lot thicker. We've got here a 14 gauge screw, once again 100 mil, but nice and thick. So this one here should be pretty difficult to go through. Remembering that the tools that I'm using here today are the Milwaukee range. So Milwaukee's got a very good reputation for having unreal power. I haven't really come across many other brands out there that can compete with this type of power. So what you're seeing here on demonstration with the drill driver is honestly probably a best case scenario. If you were to get a cheaper brand, you will find that the performance won't be as well, and you will struggle, especially with those larger screws. So once again, no restriction on our clutch setting here, full torque. And you can hear how I was just struggling just a little bit, and right at the end, it gave that little kick on my wrist. That's where you start feeling the amount of torque or the amount of pressure that it transfers over to your wrist. That's where fatigue can come in. I mean, that was just one screw, but if you're doing this all day long, you want something that's going to drive this so much easier, and that's where the impact driver is second to none. So I'll show you guys the difference now with the impact driver. Same screw, same setup. And you can see all that control. It's super easy, it's light, there's no transfer of any fatigue over on your wrist. You won't risk twisting your wrist or having any kind of pressure on there. It's really easy, nice and simple to control, guys. That's the best way to describe it. The amount of control that you get out of a little unit like this is unbelievable. So we'll switch over quickly to our paddle bits now before I wrap everything up, just to show you guys the difference now in our paddle bits. Now these ones here, like I said, are designed to be used with the impact driver. Previously to actually testing these out, I was really skeptical, can't even say the word, but skeptical about the performance, any type of issues that I might have using an impact driver, but honestly I haven't come across anything. They work unreal. They're designed for the drill driver, and we can also use them in our impact driver. So we'll test it out first with the drill driver and then switch it over to the impact. Nice and easy as you'd expect. And you'll find we'll have a very similar result on our impact driver. Except it was much, much faster. So now I'm going to quickly show you guys the difference when it comes to reversing out screws, especially now that these have been sunk in nice and tight. Remembering the benefit of the impact driver is those blows of impact as it rotates. That's going to help try and break this up. The downfall when using a drill driver is we're going to get all that transfer of energy into the wrist. So you can reduce the amount of torque coming out once again with the clutch to try and avoid the rotation in the wrist, but you will need a fair bit of power to remove these long screws out of here. And you do have to hold on very, very carefully. Now with the impact driver, so much easier. So after everything that we've just gone through, it's pretty obvious that both these drills have their place. They both excel over one another in different applications. So we've got the drill driver, we can control the amount of torque through the clutch, we can use a hole saw, we can use the hammer function mode. It's a very versatile unit. However, on the other hand, we've got our little impact driver here that's very compact, super powerful. I think in terms of specs, this one here has 226 Newton meters of torque compared to 135 Newton meters of torque. So we've got a lot more power coming out of this one here, especially when it reduces fatigue. You don't have any of that strain coming through on your wrist. You've got a lot more control. So it's really, really difficult to decide. If I had to, for whatever reason, pick just one, I'd probably lean towards the drill driver simply because it's more versatile. I can get most of my tasks done, although it might be a bit more difficult compared to the impact driver. It's a bit larger, a bit more strain, a bit more fatigue. Might have to do some prep work, some pre-drilling for some of those larger screws. But this one here can get me out of trouble. So if I did have to pick just one, I'd probably lean towards this. But then again, guys, this isn't very far off it. I mean, if we really had the ability to have a few more attachments that were impact rated, including the hole saw, if we were able to control the amount of torque that's coming through. I mean, I know we've got our speed settings here, but that doesn't necessarily control the amount of torque that's coming out in my experience. Hammer function, if we could somehow introduce hammer function into the impact driver, I think over time we can kind of phase out the drill driver and stick to the impact, simply because it's much more efficient and it reduces fatigue. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the video and you've learned something new. As always, like, comment and subscribe. Until next time, I'm Bill. Thanks for watching Billshowto.